live officially with the show in 3, 2.
Yes, that is inaudible, just how we want it to be.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. Woo! I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we're coming to you live from the internet, as usual. 2 places we're streaming the video. We're coming to you to Crowdcast. We're coming to you to YouTube. Or if you're listening to this later, we're coming to you in your ears through a podcast version. Very excited about the guests that we have on later in the show. And by later, I mean almost immediately. But first, we're going to kick off the show with everybody's favorite section. Are you guys ready for this?
Oh, I always wondered what our favorite section is. We've under-publicized that for so long.
Yes. Well, no, this is everybody else's favorite section. They love it, but we actually do love it because this is the time of the month when we thank everybody who is supporting us over at Patreon. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club. These are the folks that keep the show going because even in these at-home streaming times, and perhaps more than ever, the show does cost us a little bit of money to do, even if it is free to listen to and free to come watch. So let's thank those people. What do you say, fellas?
Exactly. Sure, and the greatest reward is to have 3 dudes try to say your name once a month.
Well, we've been, for those listening out there, we've been practicing this for the past week nonstop, so we have it down. No problems here. I'm going to kick it off thanking Aaron C. Hollis,
Adam Marks,
Adriel Moreland,
AG Tax Services, LLC.
Aliana Fontenot.
Amy Gonzalez.
Andrew Tillman.
Benjamin Brown.
Brad Macris.
Carly Welsh.
Krister Lizzie.
Clemens Lure.
Corbadorby Doodle.
Curtis LaRock.
D-Man Ryan.
Dan Snow.
Daniel Fuentes.
Daniel Morphesis.
Daniel Warden.
Danny Heck.
Danny Alley.
Dennis Scott.
Dylan L.J.
Eduardo Martinez.
Aaron Dorian.
Jeffrey Risher.
Gerard de Villiers.
James Connolly.
James Kurtz.
Jason Donahue.
Jason Williams.
Jolene.
John George.
Jonathan Jong.
Joshua Gibson.
Joshua W. Broxson.
Catherine Henningsen.
KC New Haven.
Kevin Grimes.
Kevin Clyderock.
Kieran Broderick.
Cody Thomas.
Lee Brown.
Lewana Thomas.
So cute, so darling, Lucas Sink.
Mark Carrillo.
Mark Zeller.
Megan Thigpen.
Mike D'Argenio.
Mitchell McDonald.
Nadia C.
Nick Grayson.
Omnia Soul Art.
Oren Dix.
Pedro A. Rangel.
Perry Teleferro.
Pete's Punisher Slippers.
Primetime Paulie G.
Rev Mikey.
Sarah Schaefer.
Scott Carpenter.
Scott England.
Camilo Rush.
The 12 Bench.
Victor Perez.
W. Blaine.
Will Buchanan.
Zika's Viral Comics.
Thank all of you again who are supporting the show, and also thank all of you who are coming out and watching the show and hanging out with us live right now on Crowdcast and over on the Tube. I see John Dorsey over on the Tube says, "Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening right back to you." But I'll tell you what, we're going to bring our guest into the show right now. He has a book that recently came out. It's coming out tomorrow.
Yes.
It's about to come out. It's called Scarenthood from IDW. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Roche.
Yay.
Hello.
What are the odds?
Hey guys, how you doing?
All right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm staying up late for you guys.
Oh,
wait,
thanks.
so where are you located, Nick?
I'm located in Southeast Ireland, so it's midnight now. So it's witching hour. It's just a horror comic, right? So I'm on brand.
Yeah, there you go. I'm terrified personally about everything that's happening. So
but that's a different thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
there's somebody right off screen. They're staring at me. They have an axe. It's
that's the embodiment of 2020.
That's where I live. I reside in that embodiment.
I'm so sorry.
So, Nick, thank you for staying up late. I'm very excited to chat about this book. Comes out tomorrow from IDW. It's great. We won't spoil anything here, but It's a lot of fun and goes in directions I think that you're not necessarily expecting, or at least as a reader. But also, I don't want to speak for Justin here, but as a parent, I found it very relatable, other than the ghosts, but very relatable in general.
Alex says that because I'm his son, just to be clear.
Yes.
I can tell that. I mean,
We have a real dynamic.
You're up past your bedtime, by the way, son.
Yeah, I know. I'm in your basement, in your house.
Sleepover.
So, Nick, where did the initial idea come from? I don't know if you're a parent yourself, that's where it came from, or the idea came from the name Scarenthood, or where did it start?
Yeah, the long game was I had to procreate.
Yeah.
And then, and then I had to see whether or not this child that we expelled into the world was of any entertainment value whatsoever.
I appreciate your dedication. To make a comic book, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, and that doing what I do is having sex with my wife. But we're married, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's right. Let's open it up.
No judgment.
In Ireland years ago, that was not okay to do it with the unmarried. But it was when I had kids, and when it was like I've been a comic book artist professionally for like 15 years, and I been drawn Transformers and done some stuff for Marvel. But it's like an isolated sort of life, so you're kind of just stuck myopically looking at your drawing board. And for a lot of people who work in the industry, as I'm sure you know, that like they don't tend to get out much or experience much other than the ins and outs of comics. And so then when I had kids, my first child, she's 7 now, but when she was of kind of like preschool age, I just discovered that I had to interact with people, and it wasn't my choice. And you find that kind of when you're at the school gates that the dynamics of school kind of happens with the parents as well as just with the kids, except that the kids are much better at making friends and talking waffle and just going, we like this now, we're friends. And then parents are like, so the house prices on the Dunmore Road are terrible, and the kind of the best places to go for, the Campuchuchus and, and what time is swimming practice? And does yours have a peanut allergy as well? And it's just like, I used to be more vital. I mean, I never used to be really vital, but you feel like there was more to life than this. And
it's so true. That's one thing I loved about the book is I could tell from reading it that that you have kids, because the details were so spot on across the board. I was like, this feels so real. Specifically, the dance we all do as parents trying to make friends like you're talking about. And it takes even someone who I'm like, this person's cool. I feel cool. I still can't break through about anything because it's so hard to orchestrate.
But yeah, because you know when you're younger, you can just say, I like Transformers. Do you like Transformers? We're friends now, And also the thing about making friends as an adult with parents at the school gates is also the trick of trying not to make friends with certain parents as well. So we're in this social orbit now, But I mean, I like as a comic artist, I don't have anything interesting to offer to these people. It's a two-way
street. That's a cool job. That's a cool job, though. Someone's gonna be like, you're a comic artist.
Yeah, it is, but I mean, you have no, real opinions on real things, because so it's,
says who?
Yeah. Well, not us here. We're cool here. Now this is
right.
Coming from the guy literally surrounded by comic book art, Pete LePage.
But it's so that's kind of where it came from, and so it was more the fact of like, what would I rather be doing? Because I work from home, so once she was in play school, I could go back home and do some work, but there's always that itch of like, I could do something else, like go back to bed or read some comics. And so the idea was that like, well, what would be cool rather than just talking about our kids or going for coffees and talking about house prices or proctologist appointments, what's more interesting? And I was like, ghost hunting. And that's where Scarenthood came from. It came from the idea of that, like, if your kids were in school and you could go ghost hunting, would you, with some strangers, would you do it? And the situations that would kind of lead to instigating a supernatural mystery that would kind of make you sort of team up with kind of these disparate strangers to kind of, create a little kind of a Scooby gang all of your own.
One thing I loved about this, not to get into a spoiler or anything, but the scare that happens in this first issue is both scary in a ghost sense or a mystery sense, but it's also scary for a parent.
Yeah.
And I think that's played so smartly. I just really loved combining those two things. So smart.
Yeah, good. And then, like, it comes from a real place as well. I mean, that's the whole write what you know, and comics. The best thing, one of the best things about comics is being able to use your imagination and create new places and experience for people. And I thought that when I got to do my own creator-owned comic, it would be that I'd have some robots in there and some superheroes and some time travel and all that stuff, because that's fun to draw. Except kind of this story was like niggling inside me, and that's obviously founded in, oh my god, am I a good dad? Or not even am I a good dad? Can I not be a crap one? And can I at least somehow not fail in nurturing my daughter? And so it's, but even stuff like that of kind of like, oh god, it's dinner time. I almost forgot to feed you at the right time, or just remembering to sort of like when you are in like the workflow mode to have your alarm set so that you leave to go and collect the kid from play school. So it's and so just those fears, like the non-supernatural fears, came from the very obvious, very root one. Like it's just like, tell me about your dreams. Well, they're very obviously page one of Freud. So it's kind of.
Well, great place to start with Freud. You want to dive into the back. That's where it gets super fucked.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Now, being the guy who doesn't have kids on this show, I want to talk a little bit more about this.
That's
kind of
why
like
you look so sparkly. That's why you look
so fresh.
I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the ghost, kind of like the mystery stuff. I was really impressed. It seemed kind of like a real kind of like legend, ghost story type of thing. Sounds like something that would be kind of like a local lore. And I was just wondering if that was something that was kind of like passionate for you at all, or something that you kind of like just picked up on, or where was the kind of thought process behind that?
Yeah, it was just more like osmosis thing. I kind of like I'm Irish, but I never ever properly identified or connected with being Irish, and that sort of sense of like
that starts with an O, right? When you say
very much so, very much so, capital O as well, like all our surnames do. But it was it's that thing of kind of, I just never really had any sort of identification. When like the Irish national football team are playing, I don't like sports. I don't I'm not crazy into Irish music, but then when the story came to me about like wanting to have set something ghost hunting, just everything from like the last 30 plus years has started to kind of like weigh down on you, and you're like, well, I do know about this house that could never repair its roof because apparently the devil came through it one night. I do know about this kind of like site that there's weird vibes in and stuff if you go there drinking late at night. And it's just like you realize that. There's also that thing of like, oh, I want to be the one to strip mine my country's cultural history rather than like, someone else kind of doing it. And so it was that sort of like, even growing up in like the 80s and 90s, I'm not sure if this generation, it's going to be the same for the generations that came after me, but I really felt that there was that still mildly haunted vibe about it, because like my parents' generation still had, don't do this in front of the mirror. Not that. That's the other thing. Like all these kind of weird little, kind of superstitions that they weren't real, but they felt very recent, and they felt like you still hear about people. It probably was nonsense, but you still hear about people saying, "My gran heard the Banshee last night." And that's in like 1988. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of
it's true. And I don't know what that is, because like growing up, it was like, don't say Candyman in front of the mirror. Don't say Bloody Mary. That stuff felt real. Yeah. And people believed it. And even like when Blair Witch came out, people I knew believed that shit. Like it was like real. And I just don't know, does that exist anymore? And if so, I don't know if it does.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Hey, wow, he really went along with all that fascist stuff we were talking about. But I wonder. It feels like there is a demand for it, but kind of an attraction to it, because you see stuff like Slender Man happening. Do you know what I mean? And that that's being kind of crafted whole cloth from the collective imagination. So even if it's happening like digitally now, it does seem to be that's. People still need or feel a connection to these kind of urban folk legends and things.
Oh,
like that,
for sure.
Yeah. But the Blair Witch thing totally as well. Yeah, I think that's like I was never really a horror guy and stuff like that, but that kind of came out at the right time, and because it was because of the low budget nature. I mean, Scarenthood isn't, it's not a big crash bang wallops. You're not. There's not. it's all the unseen stuff, isn't it? And that's what Blair Witch is, you know. So it's
100%. And I do think it builds, this first issue builds to that moment, and then it's just like, ooh, there's something about having all feel very like world building and like these are regular people, and it being funny on top of
good. I hope so. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And I think that helps because I love the interplay between comedy and horror and laughing and being scared. And I think you do it so well here because it turns hard and gets you.
Good.
It gets you.
It's good to hear because it's you can fall between two stools with when you genre split, but there's also the thing of like, you know, that they say the reason why comedy and horror go hand in hand is because they're both about timing and stuff. So that works well, obviously, in TV and stuff because it's all about you're very much. Yeah, you know, they're the two most like manipulative genres almost, I think, because you're trying to tickle the genre, tickle the laughs out of people and kind of tickle on the back of someone's neck to sort of scare them then as well. So it's gentle blowing and I know, yeah. So if you go for the double tickle, you got Scarenthood.
I'm always going for the double tickle.
I know, yeah. I've seen your
pushing your luck.
So yeah, I hope it does. I mean, like I said, I'm not really. I like horror. I really love comedy, but I'm not very well versed in the classics of horror. So all my references are quite route one. But being that in mind, like Shaun of the Dead is kind of the best example of that kind of that gang mentality, and the Scarenthood has that obviously. But then with Shaun of the Dead, it has the real horror sets in. When like his mum gets bitten and stuff. And that feels it gets real. And that's obviously a parental relationship that goes the opposite way, and then in Scarenthood it's kind of different. It's that thing of like, am I letting the kid down? And also, am I letting the kid down by allowing this sort of thing into our lives and stuff? But I'm glad the horror. You'll only stick around for the horror on page 26, kids. There's 26 pages of story in this issue. If you're enjoying the ride up to then, and so hopefully the humor is doing the heavy lifting for that side of things.
And let me ask you.
Go ahead, Justin.
Sorry. How does this shape out are you creating the Scooby-Doo gang, as you call them, for many mysteries, or is this just a one mystery look?
That's all depends on you, the buying public, doesn't it? I mean, I think when I pitched it, it was definitely envisioned as I wanted it to be a bit more episodic. I would love to sort of see them come across maybe more inconsequential happenings. And for it to be, if not monster of the week, but something a bit like it, because it was more about the characters and you kind of want to hang out with them and see them like mess up. But, because of the nature of the industry, and also, you're just happy to be making a comic. So if they say you've got 4 issues to tell your story, you will make sure you can tell a story in those 4 issues. So there's a beginning, middle, and end to this, but that end is not the end. Do you know what I mean? I would very much like to see like the very last 2 pages of issue 4. Like sort of set 2 stories kind of off, you think all the doors are closed, and then you're like, oh, so and one's on the home front and one's on the supernatural front. So that's like issue 4. I really wanted to. I was just talking to my editor tonight, and like in that email I said I want Scarenthood to be my full-time job. It's I'd love to be able to sort of like us have a schedule and there to be demand enough that we can do it, because I think the buzz has been pretty good. People seem to have reacted like nicely to it, and that's comforting because my stuff has been Transformers and superheroes, so kind of when you're doing slice of life supernatural and the Irish set as well. I never thought like an American company would basically basically my crappy mundane life, but they will, suckers. Thanks, IDW.
Yeah, got them.
Well, speaking of IDW, I mean, we're big of Lock and Key, and clearly IDW has a history of horror.
Hey, I've got that same.
As well as
I got that same mug. Sorry,
we're winking at each other there. Look,
yeah.
Wow. The Wookiee mating glare is strong. Maybe it's just you. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what my question was leading up to. Is do you have the same mug as Pete? And that's answered.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
No. I mean, what made IDW the right publisher for this? Was it just that you were working with them on Transformers and other things, or was it specifically that history of horror that they have?
I think it was genuinely close to 50-50, to be honest. Like, that's the honest truth.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good working relationship with them, and like I think I felt out loyalty. I kind of wanted to sort of show it to them first. You also figured there'd be a stronger chance by kind of going through the editors that I've had a relationship with. But, from talking to them at different levels, they're not looking for the next Lock and Key, but they know that they have had success with that, and that that they kind of like they'd be happy to be associated with sort of kind of similar sort of stuff, I think. So that's kind of been said to me. So I think there's kind of that too, because it is what it isn't. It's sort of like, it's like, if you like Lock and Key, you will like this, but they're very different. I mean, like, it's kind of like I say it like it's going to sound like a bad thing. It's not, but like Scarenthood is a bit like lower budget in some way. You know what I mean? The stakes are kind of, especially in the first issue, it's kind of, we'll see where we get by volume 3, but like it's genuinely part of the selling point is the fact that it's every day. Do you know what I mean? And it's
I think you're not seeing. That's a nicer, maybe a better way to put it. Like, because Lock and Key is like out of the gate. It's like this creepy mansion, and I feel like Scarenthood is very much
possible. Yeah.
This is gonna fuck these kids up, and you're sort of like, look, the regular world is what it is, and then you get later into the witchy part.
Well, what I like about this, I mean, maybe you touched on this already, Justin, for the part where I was completely gone / couldn't hear you guys.
Did you leave?
I did for a little bit. The monsters in the book do have this indication that something bigger is going on, which is nice. And I like the fact that, I know this is very much skirting spoilers, but what I like about the first issue is you're reading it, and like Justin was talking about, like you guys were talking about before, there's a nice feeling of, okay, I'm getting to know these characters, but we read a lot of first issues, and I feel like a lot of the time you would read a first issue like this, and it would be like setting up the parents, and then the last page is like, and there's a ghost. But that's not what happens here. You layer at least 3 increasingly weird things.
Yeah, there is little mini set pieces that kind of, I did want that to be the case, because that's kind of first issue 101 that you kind of described, isn't it? And you kind of want to show a little bit more than the ankle, I think, in the first issue. I think, especially if you only have 4, So I kind of wanted it to be, and it's very deliberate that those things that happen only happen to specific characters, and those things are maybe unseen by other characters and stuff. So it's kind of, you want to set that dynamic up as well. But no, you'll definitely get. There is more than just like, by the way, ghosties on the last page. There is that reminder on the last page. That's a spoiler too. But it's kind of, but even that's another level of what we know has come before. It's like, it's a reveal of like, oh, this has reached another character that we didn't expect it to. So and it's first issue. It's an art. I'm not saying I've mastered it or come close to it, but it's something you have to get right, isn't it? A first issue, like you said, you guys, you do the first issue thing every week, and you kind of know when you're sort of going, okay, like little issue 2, so
maybe you covered this already. When did the title Scarenthood come up?
I didn't cover it already. Quite late in the day, all the original pitch documents have a different title on it. And it was awful. and like, luckily I got the right title before I kind of sent it to IDW, but like all the file names have, and to the point that I don't even want to share it.
Yeah, no, I can tell you're not. I can tell you're not saying it.
It's not terrible. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering how you finally came up with Scarenthood, because it's a great title.
Well, it rhymes with parenthood. I don't know.
What?
What?
It was. I wish I could say
it was scared of parents. Is that basically?
Yeah. Both my parents are dead, so I'm just afraid that they're going to sort of like come straight for me any day, like So it's kind of I could do with the babysitter, even if they're spectral babysitters. I'd like them to sort of show up once in a while. That's what we talk about that in family gatherings and stuff like that. Sort of saying. If you could ask your mom something, what you would just do and stuff, I'll just get the Ouija board out and ask her, like, like where did she leave the jar of pickles and stuff before she died? But the Scarenthood, I wish it did just kind of come to me. It was just by just kind of the whole letting your mind go blank, and just because you're sort of like, this title I have is not going to work, and I'm trying to kind of. There was even stuff like, you're trying to write school run, and then you come up with ghoul run, and you're like, and so you kind of that's kind of what you want, but that's not it. We just had a baby as well, and we're in the similar situation with trying to name her. She was only born a week ago, but she's still nameless.
Oh,
because we're like, gotta get it right.
Wow. Gotta clear your mind.
Yeah. Clear your mind. So So she's a tax write-off. Well, this is it. She's a tax write-off because she's doing more research for the next sort of series and stuff. So it's kind of so no, there was no deliberate thing, but to the point that it doesn't even feel like I worked hard to come up with it. It just came to me when there was nothing left, and so that's why I can agree with you and say, it is a good title, and it's it's not doing the heavy lifting, but it's helping get the foot in the door for sure. It's a title that works. I think. I honestly don't think that the other title would have kind of. I honestly don't think we'd be here tonight talking now if the other title. We'd be like, I don't read a book called that. I remember Brian Michael Bendis years ago in an interview saying that he doesn't. When people sort of say, "What was your worst issue?" or "What bit did you hate?" and he says, "I never tell people." He says, I make mistakes, but I'm not going to tell you what they are because then you're going to go, yeah, you're right. Do you know?
Yeah,
so
that's
if I've learned one thing from Bendis, that and overclogging my panels with speech balloons. Those are my tricks.
Those are the takeaways.
Nick, the book is great. Congratulations on it.
Can't wait to.
Yeah, thanks for staying up late for this.
No, it was well worth it. It was so worth it. This didn't used to be late, but when you're kind of the owner operator of 3 children, it starts to wear on you, So,
certainly.
Yeah.
I look forward to meeting. I look forward to meeting little baby tax write-off Roche.
Yeah, absolutely. Someday. Yeah, I know. little baby ching ching. So I hope it goes well, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It was a really really fun chat.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. Thanks, Nick. Good luck with the book.
No worries. I'll spread the word. Take it easy, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Later.
All right. Once again, Nick Roche. The book is called Scarenthood. It's out from IDW, issue 1 tomorrow, and that is very cool. It's good. Yes, go ahead, Pete.
I was going to say, and it's also going to be in the stack tomorrow.
Look at Pete doing the business.
What?
Doing the side
bit. And we are going to rip it to shreds, just like completely eviscerate it. We've been lying. It's actually a really good book, and you should all check it out. So there you go. Let's see if these sound cues work, and then cut me out again because it's time for our next section, which is your audience questions.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
That sounds better? All right. For your audience questions, very simple. All you got to do is ask a question. I see a bunch of people over here on Crowdcast have already dropped it and asked a question. If you're over on the tube, the old YouTube, drop a question in the comments. We're keeping an eye on that. Also, give us a little thumbs up over there. Traveling along. Yeah, you like that? There we go.
Good.
Leave us a question there, and we would love to get to it. But let's get to the first one here on Crowdcast.
First off, what are you drinking? And also, it's nice to have the music back because we didn't get it at the beginning.
Wow, Pete just lobbing light criticism of Alex.
Just a little light sprinkling.
Sorry. All right. Well, what are you drinking, Pete? Paint thinner or something?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. So I'm drinking a little leftover from Saturday, a little champagne and mango juice. So
old champagne.
Oh, wow.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Pete, you never know. It still keeps. Is there a bubble left in that champagne mango?
Like one bubble. Fun fact: I don't mind flat stuff, so it's great.
You don't mind flat stuff. Great. Flat tires.
Cool. A good sidewalk.
Yeah. Nothing like a flat sidewalk, I tell you.
Great. I can go. I'm drinking a 6-point resin here.
Nice.
IPA. Very good. Good stuff. I usually get what you're about to talk about, but
a little sweet action. Is that what you mean? Nice. Because we are look at us pushing the brand.
I'm glad, Zalbin, you're not above scraping resin. You know what I mean? Some people they think they're above it, but not Zalbs. He'll scrape the res. He doesn't care.
I love when there's like a little resin on some asphalt, just nice and flat. That's how I like it. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm also drinking a Dos Equis as the kick.
What, you're double fisted?
I haven't opened the other one yet. I'll get to it. I usually drink that around audience questions because I like to get loose.
All right.
We got a great question here to kick things off from Beercat PhD. What ludicrous comic takes would you tweet from your burner accounts?
Very topical, and I love it.
Yeah. Ludicrous comic takes from your burner accounts. What
is that? I've had to create. No, I shouldn't say this, but I've had to create. I worked on a bad TV show once, and we had to create Twitter accounts to fake questions for that bad TV show. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard to create a burner account. because it's like, oh, you want it to be like innocuous, but I'm an expert in burner accounts. Innocuous, but also like real. So it's tricky. It's stupid, but also decent.
I do feel like this is probably pulling back the curtain too much, but I do feel like most of the accounts we have for other podcasts are my burner accounts. Where it's honestly, where it's like putting on slightly different personalities based on the podcast to tweet through that stuff. But for comic burner account takes, Batman is overrated. How about that?
Wow. Bold.
Yeah. I don't know.
But do you mean that? What is that? Are you just saying random shit? What do you think? That's what Twitter's for?
Yeah. No, Twitter is for very specific, well thought out takes. We all know that. I think there's too much focus on Batman. I love Batman. Batman is part of my DNA. We've read spent thousands of hours talking and thinking about Batman, but there's like a little too much Batman. I wish somebody else was more popular.
Wow. Okay.
How about that?
Wow.
That's
harsh.
Real. Batman's the mean girl.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think what I would put in my burner accounts is ask questions about all of the that I haven't read that I should have read at this point in my life as a comic list.
All right. Pete, what about you?
I don't know. I mean, I say crazy stuff as it
exactly.
is.
Pete's a human burner account.
Yeah, I don't know what else I could do.
Our burner account.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. If you're into Twitter, good, great for you.
Man,
why are
first
you mad
stand up guy.
Your burner account is shitting on Twitter.
Yeah.
Here we got one from YouTube. Anthony Latch says, if you could name your newborn after any comic title, what would it be? Good question. Probably Fun Home. No, that's not appropriate.
Wow.
I would go with Murder Falcon.
Murder Falcon.
Yeah.
That's got to be on the top 3 name for a future LePage baby.
Yeah.
Murder Falcon LePage. Murder LePage, I guess. You don't say the middle name. Murder LePage.
We did, for my daughter, we discussed going with Kitty for Kitty Pride, but then I felt kind of awkward about it. We didn't go
that.
That
is the best choice you've ever made, is not naming your child.
Yeah, I would have. That would have been so creepy.
Especially because
how much you are sexually attracted to Kitty Pride. It would just be
it's
so
weird.
Fucked up.
It's weird. But
what are you talking about?
Silver Sable Tyler.
That is crazy. Straight bullet. That's legit, man. That's legit.
Wait,
right?
could you read off what it is for anybody listening on our audio podcast?
He says, I named my son Brooklyn Marvel.
That's great.
That's nothing wrong with that.
Brooklyn Marvel Bullet. That's a great name.
Yeah, Brooklyn Marvel.
Let's see. This is from Jay Citizen. To correct my daggling manifier from last week, you all talked about going on auditions for hosting jobs a while back. Did Justin really almost get on G4? What are those like?
I booked a couple pilots for legit hosting gigs. One pilot for Fox that was going to be like a geek culture commentary show.
Did you want to get oiled up before you start all this flexing, or are you just gonna go right into it? I don't want to hurt I don't want you to hurt yourself.
I was on a show where I had to get oiled up and pull a dollar bill out of a sumo wrestler. A show called Bots, some kind of Batsu show back in like so long ago. And then I was the host of a pilot for Spike called Pop. I forget what it was called actually, but it was some kind of like pulp fiction pun, and that one was the closest to going. Almost made it.
So but what was the question was what was the audition process like?
I mean, you go, auditioning.
Do you deliver a monologue like a classically trained actor that you are, or how does that work?
Very rarely do they want to hear your favorite, your Romeo for a pop culture TV commentary show.
Weird.
Yeah, it is weird. No, you go and they'll probably have you read some copy, and then they'd say like, all right, what is your favorite geek culture thing or whatever? And then you just deliver it. And then maybe
what'd you go with? You would go with Starman?
I don't remember. No, Starman's not known enough. I think I would have said.
So
something
you had to like
it.
dumb down your geek for the.
It's not dumbing down. It's sort of choosing your target. Like choose something that people actually know about, so they can understand what you're saying. Yes, Battletoads.
Everybody knows Battletoads.
Croaking some toads.
Yeah, there you go. It's basically like any other audition. You prepare a couple of things. Question from Pablo D. Martinez. Biden won. Thoughts?
Biden 1, Trump 0.
Oh, man.
Let's hope that's the final score.
Well, I don't know. Seems like the election's still in contention, right? As far as I've seen from the news. Right, Pete? Pete, you want to comment on this one?
Yeah. Well, Pablo, there is a political channel now in our Slack thread, so you can go there for all your political news. Because I
haven't seen you in there much, Pete.
Well, it's weird. It's almost like we started a comic book podcast / talk show and then started getting into politics.
Just give us your hot take about the Biden victory real quick. You don't need to get into the Slack minutia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's hope this old white guy is better than the last old white guy.
Wow, Pete, not
so spake an old white guy.
Jesus. I was obsessed with watching the election as it came down to for years now, especially from Tuesday through Saturday. Every night I was like on Twitter, this is the night, let's get drunk. And it wasn't, but I still got drunk. And then Saturday morning it happened. It was...
Yeah, started drinking early on Saturday, man. Once that news broke, people were just getting loose.
It was great. I mean, it didn't have the same vibe as the Obama victory because it was nighttime and everyone all got to go crazy at the same time and it felt like a movement moment. This was very much sort of a meandering, almost 2-day celebration where in my neighborhood, one woman was just walking around very calmly yelling, "Joe Biden is president," which had very town crier vibes. And then Sunday we were in Prospect Park and there would just be waves of applause and cheering every 15 minutes, a full day and a half afterwards. It was great. We walked around, I'd tear up when cars would go by honking horns. It was exciting. It was great.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends because I used to live back in Park Slope, so they were total flex.
But first, I want to state that I have a lot of friends. Okay, now
no doubt.
I have a lot of friends who live in Park Slope. That's what the sentence was supposed to be.
Okay, all right.
And they were texting, being like, "Everybody's going wild in the streets over here." And I was like, "Yeah," ran to the window, stuck my head out the window here in Sunset Park, and I was like, no, all right, nobody's doing anything. Okay, there we go. But yeah, it was great. It was good. And I watched the Kamala Harris and Joe Biden speech with the kids later. Loved them getting excited about the drone show. That was very cute. So yeah.
For a second, I was like, man, those fireworks are slow. Oh, those are drones. Oh, those are drones? Okay. I'm an adult.
I'd just like to say West Philly was pretty lit. There was so much noise, we kind of were drawn to go outside, and there was down a couple streets is kind of this central there's a park and then a big restaurant, and so everybody was just dancing in the streets at this one traffic light, and there was a live band, and it all happened very quickly, but was a lot of fun.
That's nice. Let's jump over to YouTube again. This is from Nelson Martinez. Which character from season 1 of Mandalorian are you looking forward to seeing more this season? Give me some more Cara Dune. Come on, Pete.
It's come on.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, we got to talk about this latest Mando ep. A lot of stuff goes down, but poor Frog Lady, man.
Well, who are you? That wasn't the question, though. Without getting into spoilers from Mandalorian, what character from season 1 are you looking forward to seeing back? I'll tell you what.
I want to get a look at this baby Yoda. I want to get more.
When is he coming back?
Let's see more about this guy.
What about this Mandalorian?
I want to see what's under his helmet.
I want more Carl Weathers, is what I
Given that, not to get too strong with my language, Gina Carano has been a piece of shit on Twitter. I'm really not looking forward to Cara Dune at all.
Yeah.
At all in the show. But Carl Weathers, he directed an episode. That'll be fun to see him say.
Yeah,
Grief Karga. That'll be good.
I'm excited for that.
Great.
That's it?
All right.
Well,
that's it.
I don't want to get into, like you said, spoilers for what's happening, but I don't know, man. I think it does well moving past stuff. So I don't want to see too much stuff I've seen already. But the fact that, the Mandalorians did get together and kind of fight was exciting. So I'm hoping he finds his people again. We can have some more stuff like that, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. Also, I hope Jason Sudeikis gets to come back and, punch Baby Yoda a little bit. I know it's not Baby Yoda, Alex, but that's what we're calling Baby Yoda. So
no, he's season 2. He's season 2 is what he is.
Oh, okay.
I'd love to see young Anakin Skywalker pop in.
Oh,
that would be fun.
No.
I'll tell you what. There's a couple of questions about spoilers for Mandalorian. We'll talk about those on our Week in Geek podcast. We'll leave it off here. So. Patreon.com/comicbookclub if you want that sweet exclusive content. Edward Doherty says, in the early 90s, the comic industry made an effort to shift from newsstands and being a disposable media to a more collectible product with variant covers, other marketing gimmick, and higher price points. Hypothetically speaking, do you think comics as an art form would have benefited from remaining a cheap and accessible media 30 years later? Is the general improved quality of comic art and production more important than the wider range of creators, voices, and stories that potentially would have risen if comics had remained in newsstands and read by more people? Great question.
That's tough to answer. I mean, the heart of what you're going at is, yes, it would have been amazing if we could have had a wider kind of quilt of different people creating and writing comics. We would have had more stuff, which would have been cool. But comics
You said a quilt.
Yeah, like a quilt.
I got you.
Different people coming together kind of makes a quilt.
But
sure. Comics kind of had such highs and lows that, unfortunately, the money became like a thing. Marvel had to sell off stuff, so it got kind of rough for a while. So, but I do think holding up comics as an art form is important. And I know I try to hold it up like that. And I think it's one of those things where obviously the more people you have, the more kind of great stories you can tell. So that would have been amazing. But it would have been nice if by now comics would be more heralded as a art form.
I want to take it back to the newsstand days. I think I wish comics were lower quality paper, at least like getting books that are more available at gas stations. Like when I bought my first comics, they were at a spinner rack at a gas station in the legit middle of nowhere. There was nothing there, and they had a spinner rack of comics that updated not on a weekly basis by any means, but monthly. And it was so exciting to be able to walk in and get that. And I think that's why comics have moved away so hard from kids, because the access and price just isn't happening.
I think this is to get into the part of the question we haven't talked about in terms of diversity. Kevin bring this up here in the comments again. But was the newsstand model really good for diversity of voices? The change to dedicated shops has allowed for so many more titles. I think it's both, right? The monthly comics are too expensive, I think, across the board. This is not just me being an angry old man shouting at the clouds, but you think about like the amount of money. I often think about it as the amount of money you're paying for time, right? Like you think about a video game, you're paying 40, 50, 60 bucks, but you're also getting usually 20, 30, 40 hours of entertainment. Same with a movie. That's kind of pushing the line, at least when theaters were open. But when you're talking about like,
you get like 2 hours of entertainment.
Right. Yeah. So, but a comic is even worse because you're paying $4 to $5 for something that unless it's really good and you're constantly revisiting it, it's going to be, 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes of entertainment if we're really pushing it. And with most mainstream comics, there's not a lot going on in an individual issue, so you're blasting through it really quickly. So to that end, I do think something like that, there should be that more accessible, cheaper option that has the amount of time to the amount of money ratio correct. But then you could also have, to Kevin's point, things that are graphic novels, things that are books, things that are higher end and printed better with more of a diversity of voices that hopefully can end up in comic book shops. Actually, let me correct that. Let me back off of that a bit, because I think if there were more comics available more widely, you'd be able to hire more people. So that's not necessarily going to cut down of diversity in voices. Like, you're not going to have the same white guys writing the same comics if there are 300 of them going to gas stations a month. Just by the very nature of society and progress moving forward, it is going to widen out those voices as well. I don't think one necessarily equals the other, personally.
I think First Hand Up guy brings up a good point. Like, adults pay $5, children pay $1, type of thing. That would be kind of cool.
That'd be great. I could see myself shaving my little beard here and putting on a beanie hat. And
you're not going to pass. You're not going to pass.
I think. Come on, look at this T-shirt. I'm a child.
Yeah, but just because you still wear a child-sized T-shirt doesn't mean
what makes a child but a child's large T-shirt.
I don't think you. This is upsetting me because you have children.
Yes, and I am on their level in most ways.
So, sorry, I just want to keep adding on to this because I think this is a good discussion. First Hand Up guy, who is a spoiler, Nat, here brings up that. Sorry, everybody.
When
I think about the amount of time,
spoiler that was, God dang it.
When I think about the amount of time going into
wasted
drawing a
on
comic,
that,
he's correct.
Okay.
Like, it's not. What I'm not saying. I'm not saying that paying $4 or $5 isn't worth it for the product you're getting. I'm just talking about the time that you get out of it, which regardless of what you're going to do, I will speak for myself. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I do not sit there with every single comic we read, and we read, I would say conservatively, 30 to 40 comics a week, going every panel, wow, look at this composition. Wow, look at it like I'm looking through an art museum. Is that derogatory towards the artist, the amount of time they're putting into it? Probably.
Yeah, you dick.
But that's also not how I'm reading those books, and I don't think that's how most people are reading those books. So it's not about
they're not designed to be read that way.
The writers, I think we absolutely should. Yeah, exactly. Yes,
they're designed to be read.
Shorter way of saying what I was saying.
Yeah, they're designed to be read. They're not designed to be hung up, each panel hung up on a museum wall. But I think there's just room in the market for both things. We can keep the comic, the direct market and all that as it is. And then you have your spinner rack comics that are this different quality and meant to be like diverse voices bringing new characters and new titles to people who can discover it alongside everyone else who wants to read it because they've known it for years.
Again, Nat brings up a point here. He says, also, you guys host a comic book show, so maybe your reading habits are a bit more efficiency focused. I would be curious to hear from everybody how they read and how much time they spend on a comic, because sure, yeah, I'm trying to slam through everything as quickly as possible.
I spent more...
Blaze through a PDF 10 minutes before we have to record. Not me.
No, I wanted to say before we started doing the show, I really would take my time and enjoy a comic a lot more than I do now. So I think there is.
Now
something...
you hate comics.
No, I don't hate comics, but I don't get to kind of like sit with them and enjoy them as much as I used to.
Interesting. I mean, I slam through everything as quickly as possible. I watch TV shows at double speed too. Got to get through that stuff. I got to get to the end of entertainment so that I can go back.
That makes me mad that people are listening to us double speed right now. Like they're not really enjoying our nuance back and forth. They're just getting.
This was a discussion in our Patreon Slack that apparently a lot of people are listening to our podcast double speed. So I'll tell you what, from now on, we're going to talk half speed.
How do I interrupt at a slower
down? Slow down.
I will say I don't like listening to things at double speed, but I did by accident. I was like, oh, I can still hear everything that's happening.
I honestly, I do that with TV shows sometimes just for work, just because I got to get through stuff. I watched
you bastard.
I watched 4 episodes of Fear the Walking Dead and Walking Dead World Beyond today in like an hour because it was like I just got.
Yo, that's fucked up.
That's fucked up, man.
That's not cool.
They were very good.
You're the worst.
Were they? How was the shot composition?
Yeah. How was the shot composition?
Oh, it was pretty good. This is a question from John Dorsey on YouTube. Gents, who are your 3 favorite comic book writers?
Ooh, each of our 3? Or we could just quickly come up with a list. Yeah, a quick list. Man.
I mean, I'll tell you, I know we talk about Lock and Key all the time, but I really will read anything that Joe Hill writes comics-wise, just because I trust him for that. Justin, you got one?
It's tough to. I feel like I read comics in such eras, I think different writers, artists, I feel like can maintain over a longer period of time. When writers sort of rise into prominence and fade a lot. So maybe I'm stalling, but it's hard to think of someone who has really withstood the test of time in that same way. Let me think for a second.
Oh, wow. Someone put Hickman in their top 3. Ben, the Border Collie, hard disagree on that one. But
I think, that's a good list. Hickman, Brian K. Vaughan, Kieran Gillen, all great writers. I would put Hickman up there as someone who, I read all of those new books because, if nothing else, there's a wild take and a super original, detailed thing happening, no matter what it is.
Pete? What about you? Garth Ennis, maybe?
Yeah, Garth Ennis is definitely up there. It also depends on moods, you know what I mean? But Greg Pak, there's a lot of different stuff that is Aaron, why am I blanking on? Jason Aaron does a lot of great stuff. There's tons of people that Brian K. Vaughan is definitely up there. But it's hard. I mean, a top 3 is tough. And also, I'm very art driven too. I'm very drawn to stuff depending on what artist is. Right now I'm stalking Chris. I think it's Baccio, how you pronounce it, on Bachello on Twitter. Every time he does a new drawing, I'm like unbelievable. Nice. But yeah, it also, but. It's just one of those things where, I hear you, Nat. You can't disagree with somebody's top. That's their opinion. I hear you. I just saw it and was like, oh, I disagree because we're talking, and that's how conversations work.
Okay.
I just think that it really depends on the kind of mood you're in, Because I see Adrian Moreland was Jeff Lemire. And Jeff Lemire, definitely. But sometimes I'm not in that Jeff mood. I'm not into the kind of weird. I want something a little bit more straightforward. So, it's like a rom-com. You have your go-tos, but sometimes you want something a little different depending on what you're going through.
Oh, he's bringing it back to rom-coms. Let me throw out a couple names we don't talk about a lot. Mark Russell. I've been really into comedy in comics, I feel like, lately in the past couple months.
Yeah. Dugan.
The writer... Dugan, the writer of Spy Island, the book we've been reading lately, I think is really good. I feel like that's been something I've been into.
I'll also throw out there, this is kind of a newer name, but Marika Tamaki is fantastic. Her stuff has been so good. Pretty much everything out of the gate are great. So there you go. Let's go over to Crowdcast. This is from First Hand Up Guy. When Pete finally runs out of Robin Williams movies, could he do comedians appearing in comic book movies as a secret category, or just do James Marsden?
All right. Thank you for that feedback. I'll think about it.
Yeah, Pete, can you give us sort of the heat check on when you're going to make a move?
We're running dangerously low.
Great. So this week, tonight?
Well, not tonight, no.
Here, I got a couple more comments from YouTube. This one was from Radlib. This is real dark. Greetings from Peru, where we are having an actual coup. Hope you don't go through one too. Thank you, Radlib.
That's terrifying, but true. Good luck out there.
Fight the good fight.
Lion Man says, Alex, when is WandaVision coming to Disney Plus? Great question. Pete, Justin, don't answer this one.
Okay.
This is just for me. We don't know. It's going to be
relax. Oh, it's nice.
It's going to be December. My suspicion is they're going to put it up the week after Mando ends, so probably right at the end of December, after maybe on Christmas, because I think Mando ends at like December 18th or something like that. They haven't specifically said. They had a big article in EW, and they didn't release a date in that either. There were rumors that was coming out of Thanksgiving, which seemed weird. It was part of like the source code on the WandaVision page on Disney Plus. But my guess is end of December. They're going to put up Falcon Soldier, Stray Bullet out in the comics. Yeah, that's out next year. They did film it. They went back to filming with COVID protocols in place, so that should be done. Wild news, I didn't even realize this. Shang-Chi apparently not only was filming, but finished filming. Which is crazy.
That is crazy.
So next year is going to be like non-stop Marvel, just because they have everything just.
We just got to make it the next year, man. Just got to make it.
And we got to get some theaters open, and there's some issues, some things that need to happen. But I do think it's even going to be crazier, especially with COVID being what it is now. It means like spring into summer might be just crazy.
Just everyday new movie.
I can't wait.
Quit your jobs and go to the movies.
Here's what I want. I want those Biden celebration drones to fly around the country shooting vaccines into everybody, and then we can all go see Marvel movies every week. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
That's like a fun Black Mirror where the drone shoots you with the cure.
Oh, boy. This is also from First Hand Off Guy. The new Netflix series Queen's Gambit features a scene set in 1963 with a spinner rack in the background containing comics from the 90s. Oh, boy. What are your favorite great, terrible depictions of comics, comic shops, comic culture in movies?
I mean, just out of the gate, I feel like anytime someone is reading a comic book in a movie and it's like an actual comic book and not something they faked, it's always the worst comic book. It's always someone that it was just like, quick, we need a comic book, and the art department grabs the fastest one they can get their hands on. It's very rarely like, look at this pointed choice.
Or, I mean, there was stuff in like Deadly Class where they kind of like, showed a cool comic book shop and had like shots of good comics.
Well, I mean, that's different because you had Rick Remender poring over every single piece of that, making sure it felt authentic. But to Justin's point,
real quick on Deadly Class, did you see Rick Remender posted on Twitter? It's like the #1 show in like Austria or something. It's it's like crushing on Netflix in like Middle or Eastern Europe. It's great. Yeah, #7 in the world, says Ben the Border Collie. Wild.
Man, that is wild. This is also probably a good tee up to tease that in December we're going to have Rick Remender on this very show.
What?
So that should be pretty awesome.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no. It's going to be a December to remember.
No.
It's great. We're going to be talking about the anniversary of Frankencastle. So
don't you dare bring that up. Don't you fucking dare.
That's what he's coming back on to do it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got in a fight one time. Well, not like a fight, but like we were yelling back and forth a little bit at a Comic-Con one time.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, it was a problem.
I remember that. That was
a problem for everyone. It was a bad time.
Oh man.
Wow, Pablo, a December to remember. That's.
I said that joke, Alex.
Oh, okay.
You motherfucker. I was shouting it over your nonsense.
Oh, great. We got a bunch more here on YouTube. Lion Man says, any thoughts on Ken Spears, the co-creator of cartoon series Scooby-Doo, dying? Pete, you're the resident Scooby-Doo fan. Any thoughts about Ken Spears?
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, Scooby-Doo, classic. I mean, they had amazing shows, fantastic content for years, and was very inclusive. Like, first time I knew about the Harlem Globetrotters was because of Scooby-Doo, and I got really into the Harlem Globetrotters, man. Like,
Oh, Pete, you never fail. You never fail. Topical comic news. It was like the Tonight Show of its time.
Yeah,
People
it was.
would come on. And
Yeah.
I mean, we are literally making fun of you and laughing, but I will say I did learn, like, I didn't know much about Jonathan Winters until I saw he was on Scooby-Doo every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
That was Robin Williams' inspiration.
From the Harlem Globetrotters to Jonathan Winters, truly, Scooby-Doo brought us representation on screen. Thank you for that question.
The great question. I was my wife's cousin. We were at a family event a while ago, and out of nowhere, late night, everyone up drinking, he was like, yeah, and I just found out that my dad's sister was Velma.
What?
Was the voice of Velma. I was like, what? You didn't know that your whole life? And he was like, no, she just, he always wondered why there was a framed picture of Cell from Scooby-Doo in their house because his parents are like pretty straight-laced, not into cartoons. And he finally asked them, and he's like, yeah, your aunt's one of those people in that. And he's like, my aunt's Velma?
That's amazing.
Yeah. Crazy.
Wow. Cool. We got a question here from Kevin on Crowdcast. If you were given a chance to create and write comics, what aspect of your life to this point do you think would in some way, shape, or form most influence the stories you tell?
Whoa.
Man.
I would have to say some college writing courses that I took would probably influence how I tell some stories. But
I would say seeing the Harlem Globetrotters on Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
It's the first time I saw myself represented on screen.
Yeah, I'd want every comic to be a Squish.
No, I actually think what Nick Roche earlier in the show was talking about was really smart. Just pulling on his experience as a parent is something that, like, that is the major mode that I am in, particularly now that we're in quarantine several months in. Almost every hour of the day, it's figuring out how to balance my children's needs when they're fighting, when they're playing together, what they're doing with everything that's going on in my life. Like, that's the main thing that I'm thinking about. So there would be no way to not pull on that in some sort of fiction. I don't know about you guys.
I would, I'm in a very similar boat to Alex, I think, but I would go in the opposite way. I feel like I want to, when I have a minute to do anything creative, I'm going to write about anything but taking care of my children, because it truly, especially under COVID, it has been all consuming. And so finally, when I have that chance, I'm just like, oh, let me get out of this headspace and into another space to write in that world.
And kind of along those lines, I would just probably pull stories from my childhood and stuff like that. I think that would be fun to kind of retell those in a fun comic way.
Moving over to YouTube, this is from Nelson Martinez. Have you guys checked out any new animated shows that have recently come out? Highly recommend Blood of Zeus on Netflix. Greek mythology anime with Arthur. Reminds me of Avatar. Really good, is what he says. Ooh. It also stars... Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. She was in Iron Fist, the good part of Iron Fist. Actress, I'm blanking. Pete, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I know you're looking at me, but I don't know her name. Okay. But she's fantastic. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, she's great. She's on the show. We finished Avatar with the kids and started watching Korra. I'll tell you what, I liked Korra the first time, I think a little more than other people, but I like it so much better the second time through, particularly watching it pick up right after Avatar. The themes that it picks up on, the danger, the villains, it's very interesting watching that right after you finish the end of Avatar versus having the break there. Jessica Henwick, Pablo says. Yes, that's who I was thinking of. But Korra's great. It's really good. It really holds up on a second watch.
Love Korra. I've been watching Primal on HBO Max, which is great.
Oh, man.
Current animated stuff.
What episode? You all the way through? What's up?
Like 4 or 5 in. I've been watching them very casually.
Okay, all right.
They're very good.
There's a couple that are like really freaky and crazy, man. They're really intense.
It's just the environments that you get into. The snow
and no dialogue. It's
I know.
It's badass. Really cool. Yeah. I'm excited now because of that question. I'm gonna check out the Zeus thing. I've seen it like that. That's Netflix keeps telling me I should be watching it, and I'm like, fuck you, Netflix, but maybe I should listen.
Huh.
Got a question here. Fuck you, Netflix. We got a question here for Ben the Border Collie. Is anyone else thinking way too much about the Miles Morales game coming out in 28.5 hours? Tell you what, I don't have a PS5, so it's not really top of mind.
Oh, man.
Wow, Alex.
Wow.
I know what he wants for the holidays.
Yeah. I got a Nintendo, so
First Aid Up guy says, is it not coming out for the PS4? I also don't have a PS4.
It is coming out for the PS4.
There you go. If it's for Wii U, is it coming out for Wii U? Because I have one of those. I also have an NES.
Yeah, it's coming out, I believe, on the original NES, PS5, and the Digipet and your Digipet release.
It's coming out on Tamagotchi.
That's
I just want to address one of the questions here. Does Pete get angry at the GPS for telling what? I get mad at anything for telling me what to do. So yes, I do.
Rerouting.
Fuck you.
Over to the tube again. This is from Andrew Edge with the news of Johnny Depp being removed from the Fantastic Beasts sequel. Are there any actors you think should be removed from any comic book movies, e.g. Ezra Miller? Yes, I agree. Ezra Miller should be removed from The Flash, and also Fantastic Beasts, and also they should remove J.K. Rowling, and maybe, I'm just going to throw this out there, just remove Fantastic Beasts. Just don't do it. I love the Fantastic Beasts movies. I'm Pete. Nobody likes them. Nobody likes Fantastic Beasts.
Canceling a whole movie. I don't know.
They're not good. First in Up guy says, get Gina Carano out of there. No, I think put her in Fantastic Beasts. That's what I'm thinking.
Wow. I haven't really gotten into Fantastic Beasts, but it sounds like most of the cast is problematic.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, you got J.K. Rowling is not great. You got Johnny Depp is out. The rumor is he's
Dan Fogler is great. He was on our show.
Dan Fogler is great. Dan Fogler is very good. Eddie Redmayne, problematic as well. Very sort of J.K. Rowling, which is weird. But they just talked about this came up recently, actually right before the show. Mads Mikkelsen might replace Johnny Depp as the bad guy in Fantastic Beasts. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. And then I remembered 3 seconds later that I did not like any of the Fantastic Beasts movies, but he's awesome.
Have not watched.
They're no good.
And they're long too.
I'm just going to throw that out here. I think First Hand Up guy has one of the most horrible questions we ever gotten. If you guys want to see it,
he puts like 18 questions, so you don't have to read them all. You know what I mean? Like
I'm not going to read it. Just if people want me to read it, let me know because it's truly terrible.
Don't read it.
But here, this is from Eduardo. Have you read a comic that has made you want to visit a real-world setting, is based on or takes place in? If so, what was it? Yes, dreaming of a post-pandemic world.
Great.
Being able to travel and go places. Oh, man.
I
tell you what, Blue Beetle made me want to go to like New Mexico and Albuquerque and stuff like that because like the drawings of those like landscapes and stuff like that was really beautiful and made me miss it.
It's funny you say that. I was going to say similarly, Jeff Lowe on X-Force, where they were also in the Pacific or sort of the Southwest, also made me want to go there.
Reading Spider-Man really made me want to go to New York.
Oh, yeah. Those dreams, web slinging.
Too bad
one of the most vivid sort of places, Lovecraft from Lock and Key, and the fact that, but even from the comic before it became the TV show, I was like, oh, that feels so real, because you could tell that Gabriel Rodriguez was drawing actual places.
Yeah. And, oh my God, I'm blanking on where they filmed it. It's in northern Canada on the easternmost part. Is it Newfoundland?
Newfoundland,
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia, I think is what it was.
Nova Scotia, that's what I meant. Yes.
Yep.
The town they filmed it in, I legitimately looked and priced out vacations to go there because it's so gorgeous, that town. I know it's not exactly from a comic, but definitely watching that series, I was like, oh, this place is great.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Summer or winter, Nova Scotia, lovely.
And I think, fans. Unless we want to read this question.
No, we don't.
Quit teasing it.
Yeah, stop.
Yeah. Oh, I think you removed the question.
Smart.
Oh, Nat, you removed the question. There you go. That's it for your audience questions, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
We got one more. One late breaking question. Let's see what this is.
Late breaking.
That came out. First hand up guy says, "What's the worst question?" The worst question. See, asking this one word question because it's a reference to what we asked. I think you could figure out based on the syntax of the question, what's the worst question? That is the answer to the question, I would say.
What?
What just happened?
Nat asked about Alex Trebek. It was gross.
I see.
Too soon, asshole. Have some respect.
No, it's not too soon.
Yes, it is too soon.
I'm not saying we're not making fun of him. I'm saying that's you can talk about him. You can't talk about him.
Alex Trebek is great. We'll miss him. He was awesome. Wait, we do have one last over here on YouTube. Oh, do you have a memory of Alex Trebek?
Truly, one of the funniest things, and one of the first times I was like, "There's a larger world of entertainment," was when Alex Trebek guest starred on Cheers, the episode where Cliff goes on Jeopardy, one of the funniest episodes of Cheers. And then later, Alex Trebek walks into the bar, and Cliff's like, "Oh my God, thank you for coming and talking to me about how I lost on Jeopardy." And then I think Sam is like, "Wow, you really came all the way down here?" He's like, "No, I wandered to this bar and I can't believe he was sitting here," or something like that. And it's just really got me.
That's awesome. We do actually have one more question here that is comic book related, just to wrap this up, from Scott Carpenter over on YouTube. What are your thoughts on the colored Walking Dead? Just a money grab? I missed the series, so I've added them to my hold file. This is something that Image Comics just started re-releasing. They're re-releasing issues of The Walking Dead. They are colored this time instead of black and white. Pete's giving it a big thumbs down. What do you think, Justin?
I'm fine with it. Whatever. Why? You don't have to. If a new reader comes to it and reads it and loves it, great. If you don't want it because you already know everything.
What's the problem with black and white? They did. What?
Just because something's in color doesn't mean black and white is worse.
It came out in black and white. It has a kind of tone and a whole thing, and that kind of helps tell the story. You're going to add all this stuff to it. It's going to make it a different story.
It's not a random person coloring it in. I feel like it's a professional working on it. Have you ever seen movies?
Yes, I'm familiar.
So they shifted over to color, and people seemed pretty down with that.
I don't like it when people started talking in movies. That was not my thing.
Yeah. Stick to Primal, man. No talking.
All right, there we go. It's time for our next section, which is trivia. And for that, we're going to turn it over to Pete LePage.
All right, this is your opportunity to win $25 free in the form of a gift card to Midtown Comics.
I only see one hand up here.
I guess we just want to put your hand up here in the comments, and then
there's one already up.
Oh, there is? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is. All right. Let's see what happens. Should we bring that person in, Pete, whoever they are?
Sure, why
not? Cool. What's going on, Pete? Do you want to do something for our audio podcast, or you just want to shake your fist?
I just can't wait to punch this guy in real life.
You're going to do the Trump dance, this one?
So,
where he's jerking off a bunch of dicks in the air?
Wow.
Alex,
that's what he's doing.
Thanks.
Who are you?
He's like,
there it is.
There it is.
Oh. What's up, Nat? How you doing?
The original double dick dancer, they call him. Nat.
I mean, that is what's on my business card, but only because I haven't run out yet and ordered new ones.
Yeah. What's up, Nat? You wanted to say something to Pete?
Oh yeah, Pete, how's it going, man?
Hey, Nat.
Great to see you guys together.
You know?
Yeah. I just wanted to check in on where we stand, given the pandemic and everything, and society's changed so much. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it's water under the bridge between the two of us. So I just want to check in. Okay.
Nope.
Well,
sorry. The only thing under the bridge is a fighting circle. On Saturday, Nat had tweeted, "I'm at Grand Army Plaza in Brooklyn. It's a party." And like 4 hours later, I texted him, was like, "You still there?" And I ran over there, and it was just cops.
I was like, dude, we're home.
No.
Like, everyone was home. Yeah, I've been drinking for like 8 hours at that point.
Wow. Did you see Schumer? Schumer was at Grand Army Plaza.
I heard. We were at Long Meadow, and they were like, he's up at Grand Army Plaza. And I was like, let's get him. And then he was gone by the time we got there.
It's funny you say Schumer, and I was like, Amy?
Yeah, Amy Schumer's there.
They're related.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, it's just funny that when you say Schumer, you think of Chuck, I think of Amy first. That's all.
Right.
Both
That's the hilarious difference between. Yeah.
Chuck Schumer's daughter and I went to high school together. Did you
Uh-huh.
know that? Yeah, she's very conservative.
Really? First.
Just like Chuck Schumer, am I right? What's up? Hey!
Hey!
Whoa!
We got
Democrats! Hey!
One of the first improv groups I was in the city, Amy Schumer was in it briefly, and she was like, "Fuck this! I'm going to do stand up." We were like, "Okay." And then off she went.
She's going to regret that.
Yeah.
Oh, she's going to regret that, man.
Man, you got her good.
You showed her.
Hey, Nat, since you're here, you want to do some trivia?
Yeah, why not? Also, Pete, I do real quick, Alex. I don't want to cut you off because I respect you so much. But Pete, I do want to say real quick that people in the chat are asking why you're mad at me and why you want to punch me in the stomach and now face. So I'm just curious if we can get a recap because I feel like we're doing a little inside baseball.
Sure. Do you want me to tell it? Or
yeah, I would love for you to explain
so
exactly.
Nice. You're being so nice to each other.
All right, so
Nat came on. Alex.
Nat came on the show and was like, "Hey, I have a fucking killer day job, and it's pretty sweet." And I was like, "Oh my god, that's so great! I'm happy to hear that." And then he was like, "Yeah, fuck you. I'm gonna change the fucking world with my day job. This new thing I'm releasing is gonna change everything as you know it." And I was like, "Wow, that seems like a bit much. Maybe you should turn that down." And he was like, "Fuck you!" And I was like,
"Is that how you phrased it at the time?" I'm just curious if that was the diplomatic
way. We could play the audio. We could play back the audio.
No, I'm just curious if that's how you speak to me when we're in person. I'm just curious if that's your memory of how you talk to me in person.
Pete often is telling a guest to turn it down, quote unquote, turn it down a little bit.
Turn it down to a respectable, moderate amount.
Yeah.
You drew this comic book? Turn it down a little bit.
we know
there's other people involved. You don't have to take credit for the whole drawing.
What about the letterer?
Yeah.
Well, everyone knows Pete's catchphrase from the live show, which is, "I'd prefer a slightly more moderate intensity."
Yeah.
I was the one screaming, "Fuck you!" Sorry, you know what? Very rude of me. I cut you off.
Sure did, buddy.
I was a real Nick Roche Snickers commercial. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just think that. I mean, you're proving my point. You deserve a punch in the face, and it's coming. And only time and a couple of pandemics will keep that from happening. But eventually, once I see you,
what does Pete know about the next pandemic?
Yeah, release the data.
No, but basically, you were talking shit. I called you out on it, and then and you said, "Well, if I'm wrong, I'll let you punch me."
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Nat had to prove that he changed the world with talk about what it was. Tell us.
We had an album of computer generated and AI generated art and music, and we released an album where the lyrics and the music itself were made in collaboration with AI, and that was we released it on January 1st of this year. And I would say that right now things are pretty different from January 1st. So
he's not wrong. He's not wrong, Pete.
He's got you.
Yeah, kind of hard.
So you're taking credit for COVID right now? Is that what you do? That still deserves a punch in the face.
Go to thesingularity.com. Maybe the clues are all there all
along. Yeah. Great. Why don't we start some trivia? Pete, you want to kick this off?
Sure. So today's trivia is on topical comic news. I'm going to read you a question list.
Harlem Globetrotters. No
doubt.
All
three possible answers. Get all three questions right. $25 will be yours in the form of a gift card to Midtown Comics Online. All right, here we go. Question number 1. What is the name of the Valiant title coming out in February about a teenage caveman? Is it A, Me Caveman, B, Savage, or is it C, Wayne Knight? So it's either A or it's B.
I gotta go with B because I think it was Savage, and that sounds just so accurate.
Yes, it is correct.
Nice.
All right, here we go. Question number 2. The King in Black comic is set to redefine whom? Is it A, Black Panther, B, Venom, or C, Emma Thompson? And Zelbin, if you could refrain from deep sighs of regret while I'm trying to do something, that would be
I was
sweet.
just breathing. I was literally just breathing.
I was trying to do something, and you're like,
Yeah.
It's a pandemic. That's what breathing sounds like now.
He breathes inside.
So is it A or is it B? Pick B.
It's B, and I recommend watching the New York Comic Con panel about it with Donnie Cates, which was really fun.
Nice.
Yes.
Sick plug, bro.
Yeah, I knew that.
Awesome. All right. Last one. The Latin X fantasy comic Helm Grayskull. Come on, guys. You're hurting.
Hey, guys, I'm sorry. Wait, Pete, can you pause for a second? I feel like I can't hear enough breathing right now.
Oh, you need more breathing.
There's something in the audio that doesn't sound loud
I need more
enough.
cowbell.
I love that Alex and I were able to sync that up, by the way.
Yeah, that was
We're
cool.
pros.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of harmony going on right there. Real distinct start and end point. I'm impressed with you guys' performance. I'm on Pete's side now. This is what you've done to me.
All right. Helm Grayskull combines Lord of the Rings and the rich, bloody history of blank. Is it A, Mexico, B, Costa Rica, or C, Andy Garcia? So it's either A and $25 will be yours, or you can be completely wrong.
I'm going to tell you, Pete. I'm going to give you a double answer. The answer is A, and I know this one. That's Dead Again.
Yeah!
Wow.
Robin Williams movie is Dead Again.
Amazing. Dead Again, one of the best movies of all time. Legit.
I'd say so.
It's a great movie.
Depending on how wide we're making the category of best.
Oh, it's great. I watched that movie a ton of times.
Yeah, it's in my top 500 for sure.
Every time I see scissors, I think, these are for you. Real Dead Again fans know what I'm talking about.
We're called Dead Again. Well, that was taken, actually. We're called Again Heads. It's not great.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Nat, thank you so much for playing. Shoot us an email at comicbookclublive@gmail.com. We'll get you set up
Good
with
to
a
see you,
$25 gift
Good
card
to see you,
Midtown.
too.
Enjoy the day.
Hey,
Equally
thanks
close
for
friends.
the Alex Trebek question. Thank you.
Yeah,
for that.
really good stuff.
I thought you might have a good anecdote about it, And I thought I'd answer it in a very tactful way.
You did.
Enjoy the dinner mitts.
Bye. Oh, cut him off. There you go.
Got him.
Nice. Guys, as we all know, and gals and others, as we all know, tomorrow is New Comic Book Day. We recommend you go wherever safest, even if it's online. Go there. What are you looking forward to? Pete, what are you looking forward to that's coming out tomorrow or came out today, I guess, from DC Comics because they're doing that thing?
I'm going to say Taskmaster #1 and Hellboy and BPRD, The Seven Wives Club.
Ooh,
Okay.
interesting.
Couple of takes there.
Great. No elaboration necessary. Justin, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
It sounds like pandering, but I'm going to give it up for Scarenthood #1.
Oh!
I really liked. I'm really looking forward to reading that book. No, we obviously already read it. We talked to Nick about it. Like, great book. Really, it's the combination. Like I said earlier, I'm really into comedy and comics. Maybe it's the pandemic, but it's a really funny book that actually hits real moments of fear when it needs to, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Marvel Zombies Resurrection. #4 is coming out tomorrow. Philip Kennedy Johnson, writer, was supposed to be here this week. We pushed off his appearance because he's got some stuff coming up. He's got some stuff coming up. We'll have him on the show next month to talk about that stuff, whatever that stuff may be. But regardless, this book has been great. I've been telling folks about this. because the decisions he's been making with Marvel Zombies are so smart and so interesting. You know, if you just thought it was another zombies book like the previous one, which obviously was a big hit, there's just like very specific continuity tied twists that he's been doing, and it really feels fresh and new, and I'm really enjoying it quite a bit. And folks, that is it for our show.
Yeah.
All right. Before we go, I want to thank Nick Roche, our guest, for being on the show. Check out Scarenthood coming out from IDW tomorrow. Also next week, we're going to have a packed show. Kyler Merrill from Stonewood Mountains is going to be here. Isaac Goodhart from Victor and Nora, a Gotham love story. One of DC's lines of excellence. Teen YA graphic novels. Also, Travis Gibb from Cthulhu Invades Oz is going to be here. That's current Kickstarter. So that should be fun.
How many people?
3 people, Pete. Get ready. We're going to blast through them.
It's going to do it. Let's talk.
It's going to be an awesome packed show. Also, a couple of things to plug. Umbrella Podcademy, our Umbrella Academy podcast, is ongoing. We've taken a couple of weeks off for various election-related reasons, but that will be coming back, so don't worry. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club to support this show, and more iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe and listen to this show. Also, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast, and more at Comic Book Live on Twitter. And of course, stay tuned to the Stack podcast, which comes out Wednesday, 9 a.m., both in this feed and the dedicated Stack feed. That's it. Thank you again, everybody. You're awesome. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.